Welcome everyone to the New Fly Fisher. On today's show, hosts Phil Rowley and Bill Spicer test out the lakes in the Parklands of Manitoba for rainbow, brown, and tiger trout. Joining them will be fisheries biologist Ken Kansas and local fishing personality Bob Sheedy. They'll be discussing the Parkland area and its reputation for big fish, really big fish. Equipment, techniques, and patterns will also be discussed in detail. It's going to be a great show, so stay with us. That was awesome.
Let him go back to live another day.
Oh, baby.
Look at that fish.
Nasty pieces going in on.
We talked earlier about having the optimum conditions. Here we've got perfect conditions.
This is a good example of the family Heptageneidae. This is why you need a lot of backing.
The New Fly Fisher was made possible thanks to Ontario, yours to discover, Scientific Anglers, Islander Precision Reels,
Russell, Manitoba is located in the heart of the Parklands. Most of these lakes are within an easy hour's drive of each other. Best of all, they feature open, public access. There are also pristine streams in the area within a short drive that produce brook trout. What the area is known for is its large rainbow trout, brown trout, and the ferocious tiger trout. Other species such as pike, walleye, perch, and bass can be taken in this area. This is truly an angler's dream location. The past 5 years, a core group of people known as Flipper have been managing the area lakes. Fisheries biologist Ken Kansas talks about Flipper and the 10-point rating system they use to determine what lakes are selected for stocking.
A Flipper, spelled FLIPPR, stands for Fisheries and Lake Improvement Program for the Parkland region. Now, that acronym was originally brought forth by one of our original board members, Wally Melnick, and he tried to get all aspects of the area and everything else, but Flipper really stands out and people are remembering that name. But in actuality, the purpose of Flipper started essentially to develop, enhance, and maintain trophy trout fisheries in the Parkland area. We're all about facilitating workshops for communities to get going on lake development in the area. And basically, Flipper started out as a grassroots organization. We still are, just that now we're facilitating the development of trophy trout waters. What Flipper did originally is we put together a survey crew. Most of the lakes that were suitable for trout development that didn't need aeration were already either had trout in them or had indigenous species like walleye, pike, and perch. What I did with Flipper, at the time being the regional fisheries biologist, to develop a 10-point assessment criteria so they could survey new and future lakes. And it had everything to do with the habitat, the lake morphology, depth, forage base, indigenous species interviews with local landowners, inflows, outflows, and all those kinds of things. We tried to develop that system to a point where they could go through the first three of the 10 points, and if they failed those three, move on to the next lake so they didn't do any extra work that they didn't have to. And all this criteria basically put lakes into a primary or secondary survey mode, and if they went to the secondary survey, that meant they passed at least 9 of those 10 points and they could go on to the next level.
Okay, see Ken's got the rod tip up high here. Keep that pressure off the fish. Many fish are lost right at this moment, right when fish are coming to the net, because we drop our guard for a second, and if we're using barbless hooks, which most are these days, we tend to put a little slack in the system. When that fish is running, high rod position, least the resistance and the least risk of breakage of the hook pulling out. fish.
Beauty. Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
So that's Tokaric Special, Ken?
Yeah, that's what they call it, the Carrick Special. It's kind of imitates about 3 different things, I think. Leech, scud, maybe even that with the brass wire in there, prawning it or something like that.
Yeah, or even a small bait fish.
Yeah, and just hand twisting along the bottom in a channel.
Yeah, that channel's like a game trail. It funnels the fish through there, so we'll go give that a work. See, we've got some movement down there. We've got fish chasing.
There are 3 types of flotation devices that are very popular in the Parklands: float tubes, pontoon boats, and john boats with electric trolling motors. The lakes in the area are regulated against gasoline motors. Most lakes in the Parkland are small, so electric motors work fine.
As far as rods and reels, you know, for me personally, I go for 2 rods. I go for a floating line and intermediate sink, large arbor reels, because these fish tend to run a fair bit on you. And I go minimum 9'7" weight. A 9'7" weight rod in the Parkland is the ultimate rod, and you can also fish other species besides trout and the trout hybrids with it. You can fish pike and walleye and anything else.
Now the idea, oh, it's a nice brown. The idea of fighting a fish in a lake is different than a stream. In a stream, you have the current to try to tire out the fish. Well, in a lake, I don't have that luxury. So when he decides to run, I keep my rod tip up high like so, and the minute that he stops, then I'll use some side pressure. And he's bulldogging down, he's gone straight down. He's stopping. Now I'm gonna get a little bit of side pressure. Now notice that I have my fingers on the line at the same time. I can actually feel when the fish is ready to start moving again, and I can give him some slack. Or I shouldn't say slack, I guess some line. But this looks like a very good brown trout. Oh yes, oh yeah, very good brown trout. Again, he's gonna run, so I'm just gonna give him line. Allow him to run. Don't hold on for dear life. That's the worst thing you can do. Oh, this is a very good brown. This definitely is a nice brown. How I got him is I had a little bit of a tangle in my line, so I had to let the fly sink. And it was right near the bottom, and as soon as I started retrieving, the fish hit it. So this is a very good rod. Very good. If Phil is ready right there, I would really appreciate it if he would net this for me.
Think I can help out?
You could help out, yes, man.
We got our boats all tangled here a little bit.
This is a very, very nice brown. And he's deciding, I'm just giving him line. He's decided he wants to run, so I'm giving him line. I'm not holding back. I only reel in when I feel that he's ready to come in. And he's running towards me this time. So I better put a little pressure on him this way. Now I'm right at my leader, so I'm gonna have to guide him in, and Phil does an excellent job of bringing this fish in for me. I'm very excited about this. This is a very large brown.
Yeah, this is bigger than your...
This is bigger than your average stream brown, that's for sure.
There's your
Excellent,
fly
excellent.
is free and clear. You wanna do the honors, Bill?
If you would, please.
Yeah, I'll let you pass up the net to you.
Okay, I have it.
Wooden net, float, so you can focus on releasing the fish and the net won't get in the way.
Oh, I'm very excited about this. Very excited. As you can see, this is a very nice brown. Gave me a real good fight. Excellent, excellent. Lovely colors to him. Very nice colors. It looks like he's ready to go. Very nice.
Our Parkland stillwater trout lakes are all accessible by road. I did develop a couple of backcountry lakes in the Duck Mountains. That was either a mile hike and things of that nature. Those lakes have since winter killed. Of our approximately 15 to 25 really good trout lakes in the Parkland region, every one of them you can drive right to the shore. And most of them you can launch a decent sized boat.
We got another nice brown on here. Again, this Parkland region is so rich in its fisheries and its fish. Very productive waters. Looks to be a nice brown. I've seen it flash by once. It had that kind of golden yellow color, mustardy brown, and it hasn't come up to the surface much. Rainbows usually come up and a little more aerobatic in their displeasure at being hooked. We're just sort of waiting this out. I'm going to use some side pressure on this fish to defeat it, and you see how it's bending this rod. Moderate action rods, but they're forgiving tips, so they're very tippet friendly, so we can fish lighter tippets. Any conditions dictate and still manage to hold on to a trout or two. Yeah, we're taking us around. See if we can herd them back using side pressure. Let's get the net here. Once that fish is starting to show its sides, usually it's beat. This one's starting to tire. And again, if I just support the fish, hold on to his tail, don't squeeze him, he'll sit quite calm. So let's get him into the water here. Get out of the way. Just hold him there and admire him. Look at the coloration. What a beautiful specimen. Big male. See how the jawline comes behind the eye, starting to get that prominent kype. Females, their eyes seldom extend past their eye. Their jaws rather seldom extend past their eye. That is a beautiful fish. And there he goes, he's revving up, he's fighting me. I want him to fight me a couple of times to make sure he's truly good and ready, and off he goes. Gotta come to the Parkland region.
Just short little retrieves, little short strokes, and there's never a question of when the hit is, because he hit it like a freight train. Oh, he's really taken off on me. Now if he jumps, I'm gonna have to drop my rod tip. It's called bowing to the fish. And what that does, if a fish starts to jump on you, he pulls the line as he jumps. So what I want to do is point my rod at him so the line will slip through the water easier. Oh, it's a slab. Again, side pressure. One advantage that you do have in a lake over a stream is you don't have a whole lot of rocks and things to worry about, unless you get too close to the grass here or the shore. But we're far enough out, I shouldn't have that problem. Very, very exciting fishing here. These fish, this is great. And they don't give up, that's for sure, they don't give up. This is a very large rainbow. It's definitely a rainbow. I got to look at him that time. Again, notice how when he decided he was going to run, I let him go. What I'm looking for is him to start to turn on his side a little bit. Then I know he's ready, just about ready to land. And I'm going to have to, anytime now. And we have them. That's an excellent netting job there, Brad. And we have a very nice bow. And it is a very good bow. And as you can see, we have very healthy fish population here. This was very exciting. Bring them down. And I'm going to revive them. There are 3 setups we're using today. The first setup is an intermediate sinking line with a 9-foot leader and a 2-fly setup. This is counted down to sink near the bottom. The second is a naked setup with a floating line and a long leader with a 2-fly setup. The leader should be 25% longer than the water is deep. Thus, if the water is 10 feet deep, your leader should be 12.5 feet long. This setup allows you to fish water with a floating line to a depth of 20 feet. The third setup is a floating line using a quick release indicator with a 2-fly setup. This allows you to target specific parts of the water column when searching for these active trout. The quick release indicator will slide down the line when you set the hook, thus not interfering with landing the fish. There are 2 basic retrieves that are used for this technique. The first is a strip retrieve. The speed can be varied to give the fly differing actions. This is particularly effective when fishing leech patterns. The second is the slow weave retrieve that is used when fishing patterns such as scuds or chironomids. This retrieve is meant to be done dead slow.
There is a beautiful Patterson rainbow.
The actual regulations that Flipper recommends to the provincial government fisheries branch to put on these lakes are regulations that are intended to maintain a trophy trout status. For example, normal regulations, there would be perhaps 2 or 3 trout of any size you could take, or above a minimum size. What we do with Flipper is we have a 1 fish limit, and you can't harvest any fish over 18 inches. That maintains a certain quality of fishery. You get a lot of fish escaping. We stock at about 100 trout per acre on most of these lakes. That ensures a lot of fish escaping into that maximum size. Therefore, I guess you could say a trophy in these waters is 20 plus inches. Of course, we grow them quite a bit bigger than that. And what that minimum size or maximum size does is ensure fish escape into that upper slot. Now, we also have a catch and release lake, total catch and release, a lake by the name of Twin Lake, and we stocked it with a hybrid salmonid called tiger trout, and that's brown trout and brook trout. And we weren't sure of the availability of that hybrid in the future, and also tiger trout are very, very aggressive, and we were worried about over-harvest immediately. So we've got a catch and release status, and it's proven to be a very, very effective regulation on that lake.
It's important to observe what food forage there is in the area. Using dip nets and observing structures at the shoreline, such as sheds, will give you information on what the aquatic life is. Observe the color and what size each of the species is. What species you should look for are minnows, leeches, caddisflies, dragonflies, scuds, and so on. This will give you an idea of what pattern you should start with.
I tend to read the water. You get used to it after a while. You can tell by some of the surface things. You can read the birds. I go a lot by structure and by the bottom matrix. We use depth finders, and we can read the bottom matrix on the gray line on the bottom, so we know whether we're on really gooey stuff. We try to avoid that. You try to get a semi-solid base, because this is where your chironomids will build up. That's where they build their tubes. And the fish patrol these areas. And if you can find them and isolate the best ones, you're more apt to get into fish than anywhere else. Now, you may not fish a chironomid, but that's usually was what's attracting fish into a given area in these lakes.
That one got a little spunk to it. No anchor rope. You net that right in front, that's gonna be cool. Ate the chironomid. Nice looking brown.
Landed towards me, Bob.
And there Bob releases another Parkland specimen. We hope you've enjoyed today's show and learned a lot about stillwater fishing and in particular the Parkland region. If you'd like information on this or any other show in our series, please visit us on the World Wide Web at www.thenewflyfisher.com.
On behalf of all of us at The New Fly Fisher, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
The New Fly Fisher was made possible thanks to Ontario, yours to discover. Scientific Anglers. Sage Fly Rods.
And as you can see, we have very healthy fish.
One on his tail, don't squeeze him.
Very nice brown. Gave me a real good fight.
Okay. There he goes.